Hello everybody, my name is Pani Gupta. In today's session, we are going to do reading comprehension, articles, some more important figure of speeches and many more things. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So first we are going to do the reading comprehension passage. I'm going to explain the passage to you, read out to you, and then together we can work out the questions. Okay. It was the strangest murder trial I ever attended, where the old woman was found battered to death. So, according to the writer, it was one of the most strange murder trial he had ever attended, in which an old woman was badly hit to death. He was a heavy, stout man with bulging, bloodshot eyes. So, the man who presumptuously killed the lady was a very heavy, muscular man, and his eyes were like bloodshot. Bloodshot means the area of the eye which is supposed to be white. If it is red, that is bloodshot eyes. All his muscles seemed to be in his thighs. He was a very muscular man. The clock had just struck 2 in the morning. So it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Mrs. Salmon in 15 Northwood Street had been unable to sleep. So it was 2 in the morning. Still, Mrs. Salmon, who was a resident of 15 Northwood Street, was not able to sleep. She heard a door click shut and thought it was her own gate. So she heard some voice of the door of the main gate. So she thought that maybe it was her own gate. So she went to the window and saw Adams, that was his name, on the steps of Mrs. Parker's house. So what happened? She heard some sound. She immediately went to the window and saw Adams. Adam was the name of that person on the steps of in front of Mrs. Parker's house. He had just come out and was wearing gloves. He had just come out from the house of Mrs. Parker and he was wearing gloves. He had a hammer in his hand and she saw him drop it into the laurel bushes by the front gate. So that person, Adam, was carrying a hammer in his hand. So Mrs. Salmon saw him dropping the hammer into the bushes by the front gate. But before he moved away, he had looked up at her window. So before going out, the Adams saw Mrs. Salmon at her window. The fatal instant that tells a man when he is watched exposed him in the light of a street lamp to her gaze, his eyes suffused with horrifying and brutal fear, like an animal's when you raise a whip. So this moment he realized that Mrs. Salmon saw him. He thought that he was exposed. There was just the light of the street lamp. So in the light, Mrs. Salmon was clearly able to see Adam. And at that moment, Adam was very scared, as if now in the sentence he's been compared to an animal. Just when you raise a stick to beat an animal, so the fear that arises in the eyes of an animal is similar as the eyes which was there in Adam's eyes. Okay, so after that, Mrs. Salmon was called in the court. So this is the incident that happened. After that, Mrs. Salmon was called in the court. And do you see the man here in court? So she was asked that, can you identify the man which you have seen that day in front of Mrs. Parker's house? She looked straight at the big man in the dock, who stared hard at her with his Pekingese eyes without emotion. So she just looked at that man who was standing at the dock. In the dock is basically the place where the accused are to sit or stand during the trial. So she just looked at him, who was staring at her with his bulging eyes. Yes, she said, there he is. Mrs. Salmon said, yes, I very much identify him. There he is. You are quite certain? So she was asked that, are you sure that he is the same person? She said simply, I couldn't be mistaken, sir. She said, no, sir, I'm 100% sure this is the same man. I cannot be mistaken. This is not my mistake. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Salmon. Counsel for the defense rose to cross-examine. So she was said, all right, thank you. Then defense counsel rose and asked, now, Mrs. Salmon, You must remember that a man's life may depend on your evidence. So the counsel for defense told Mrs. Salmon that I hope you are aware that on your evidence, a man's life is right now dependent. I do remember it, sir. Mrs. Salmon said, yes, I'm very well aware of this fact. I know my statement is very important. Is your eyesight good? So the defense counsel asked Mrs. Salmon that, do you have a good eyesight? I never had to wear spectacles, sir. So Mrs. Salmon replied, yes, I never wore spectacles. I have a very good eyesight. You're a woman of 55. So the defense counsel again asked that you are 55 years old. So Mrs. Salmon corrected him and said, no, sir, I am 56. And the man you saw was on the other side of the road. And the defense counsel again asked, yes, the man which you saw was on the other side of the road? She said, yes, sir. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning. You must have remarkable eyes, Mrs. Salmon. So the defense counsel said that it was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was completely dark. So the defense counsel said that this is remarkable that your eyesight is so good that standing a person so far from you, you were able to see him so clearly, that you are so confident. No, sir, there was moonlight, and when the man looked up, he had the lamplight on his face. So to this, Mrs. Salmon replied, no, there was moonlight, and when the man looked up at her window, the street lamplight just fell on his face. And you have no doubt whatever the man you saw is the prisoner. And so you are very confident that the man you are seeing is the prisoner. None whatever, sir. It isn't a face one forgets. So Mrs. Salmon replied, yes, sir, I'm very sure. It was such a face which cannot be forgotten in life. Then he said, do you mind, Mrs. Salmon, examining again the people in court? Again, the defense counsel asked Mrs. Salmon that, would you mind, can you examine the people once again? No, not the prisoners. Stand up, please, Mr. Adams. And there at the back of the court, with thick, stout body and muscular legs and a pair of bulging eyes, was the exact image of the man in the dock. Now think very carefully, Mrs. Salmon. Can you still swear that the man you saw drop the hammer in Mr. Parker's garden was a prisoner and not this man who is his twin brother? Of course, she couldn't. So what happened? The Mrs. Salmon already told her that the face of the prisoner was such which could not be forgotten. Again, the counsel for defense asked the lady that whether the man standing in the dock was the prisoner she saw dropping the hammer in the garden and not the man who was his twin brother with same looks and body. And to this, the lady, Mrs. Salmon, was speechless. She couldn't say a word. So this was the passage. Now let's work out the questions. Why do you think has the author called the trial strangest murder trial he ever attended? So why, according to the writer, according to the author, it was the strangest trial? Let's read the options first. Because the accused had a very strange personality. Because despite having a potential witness and evidence against the accused, his wrong could not be proved. Because Mrs. Salmon evidence could not be proved before the court, or none of these. So let's see what the first statement states. So, because the accused had a very strange personality. So he was not particularly a strange man. Criminals, prisoners usually have a strange personality. It doesn't prove that it was the strangest murder trial. There is nothing strange in it. So option A, we are going to rule out. The second is, despite having a potential witness and evidence against the accused, his wrong could not be proved. Yes, this is the correct answer because there was a potential witness. There was Mrs. Salmon who was very sure that she saw the same man, and there was evidence against him. Still, it couldn't be proved. His crime couldn't be proved. That is why it was very strange. Having everything, having the witness, evidence against the accused, still his wrong could not be proved. That is why it was the strangest murder trial he ever attended, according to the author. Let's read the last option. Because Mrs. Salmon's evidence could not be proved before the court. So it is strange that despite this evidence of a witness not being proved is nothing rare. It's not rare. So it is not a strange thing. So the correct answer, D, none of these is not the option. We are going to rule it out. So the correct answer, which suits completely to the question, which should be the answer, is becoming, because despite having, there was a witness, there was evidence, there was everything against the accused, still his wrong could not be proved. Now the next question is, his eyes suffused with horrifying and brutal fear, like an animal's when you raise a whip, can be called as. So this line, which figure of speech is it? First, personification, B, simile, C, onomatopoeia, D, none of the above. So let's see what is the meaning. I have already told you when I explained in the passage that his eyes were being compared to an animal. The fear in his eyes was compared to an animal's fear when you raise a stick to beat him. Okay, so let's see what is personification. Personification is when you give human traits to non-living things or non-living objects. So that is personification. So in this sentence, no trait, no non-living thing trait is being given. So it is not the correct answer. B, simile. Yes, a comparison is being made using the words which are used for comparison. I've said earlier also, if a sentence is a simile, it should have words like, as. So like in animals, when you raise a whip, so it is a simile. Onomatopoeia, so it is not onomatopoeia because in this figure of speech, generally sounds are associated according to the object. So there is no sound which is being mentioned. So even C is not the answer. D, no. None of the above. We are going to rule out this option also. The correct answer is B, simile. The next is the expression Pekingese eyes used in the passage refers to which of the following? So let's read it. So his eyes. So in these type of sentences, when you're confused and you don't know the meaning, just refer in the passage that is there anything being said about his eyes, Pekingese eyes? So bulging eyes, red eyes, small eyes, none of them. So the first option is bulging eyes. Yes, it is being referred in the passage. He was a heavy, stout man with bulging, bloodshot eyes. So bulging is the word which is already being used in the passage for his eyes. So bulging eyes will be the correct answer. We'll read the other options also. Red eyes, no, because it's not bloodshot. The correct word is not written here. Small eyes, no, none of them, no. The correct answer is A, bulging eyes. The next question is, why was Mrs. Salmon convinced that the man she saw had committed the crime? So what made her so sure that she had seen the man who had committed the crime? First, because she saw the man on the steps of Mrs. Parker's house and he was wearing gloves. B, because he had a hammer in his hand and she saw him drop into the laurel bushes by the front gate. Because when he looked her up at her window, his eyes were suffused with horrifying and brutal fear. D, because she had seen him clearly in the light of the street lamp. So in this sentence, B, in this sentence, option A, because she saw the man on the steps of Mr. Parker's house, he was wearing gloves. B option, C option, D option, all the options are correct. Mrs. Salmon had indeed noticed all these details. But the question is that why was she convinced that she saw the man who has committed the crime? So the correct option will be the last one, because she had seen him clearly in the light of a street lamp. Why she was so sure? She was so sure because she had seen the same person in the light of a street lamp. So this is something which she cannot mistaken. This is something that she is very sure of. So none of the above options, A, B, C, doesn't prove that she was so convinced that she has saw the man. The correct answer is option D, because she had seen him clearly in the light of a street lamp. Okay. The next question is, who was murdered in the scene described in the passage? Mrs. Wheeler, Mrs. Parker, Mrs. Salmon. It cannot be inferred. So the first option is Mrs. Wheeler. There is no Mrs. Wheeler in the sentence, in this whole passage. So we're going to rule out the option. Mrs. Parker. So it is being said that she saw a man in front of Mrs. Parker's house with a hammer. But in the entire passage, it is the woman who was dead. Her name was not mentioned in the passage. So it's just a guess. It's not proven. It's not written in the passage. So even B will be the wrong answer. C, Mrs. Salmon. No, Mrs. Salmon is not dead because she is the witness. She has come to the court. She is giving her statements. So obviously she is not dead. It cannot be inferred. Yes, D will be the correct answer because we are not sure. The name of the woman who was murdered is not mentioned in the passage. Okay, so option D, it cannot be inferred, is the correct answer. All right, now let's do articles. Let's move on to articles. Just give me a second. I'm just sharing it. Yes. Okay. All right. Now, this is one topic which is very common. We have heard it a lot of times. We have done it. So let's do a quick revision of articles. Let's read that where to use articles, where not to use, where to use a and the. Let's do it. We all know articles. The words a and the are called articles. They come before nouns. We all know that these are the words which come before nouns. There are two types of articles. So there are two types of articles, definite articles and indefinite articles. Okay. Let's read about indefinite articles. It indicates that a noun refers to a general idea rather than a particular thing. So when you are talking about a noun in general and you're not being specific about a particular noun and you are talking in a general sense, then it is an indefinite article. It can be a or an. So a and an are the indefinite articles. It's the word a when it precedes a word that begins with a consonant. It's the word an when it precedes a word that begins with a vowel. So this is something कि अगर किसी sentence के जो starting word है that is a consonant, means which is not a vowel, then we use a. Okay, and if there is a vowel, we use an. The indefinite article is used before single countable nouns. Singular countable nouns like book. Book is a singular countable noun. It's singular and you can count number of books. Orange is a singular countable noun. Girl is a singular countable noun. Also, B. B is a consonant. So we have used a. O. A, E, I, O, U. It's a vowel. We have used an. A. It's a girl. It's G is a consonant. So we have used a. The next is definite articles. The is the definite article. It generally points out some particular person or thing. Definite, as the word suggests, when you are specifying a definite thing, when you are specifying some particular person, when you're talking about a particular noun, a particular person or a particular thing, then it is a definite article. For example, he saw the doctor. So in this sentence, we are talking about a particular doctor she is being referring to, not some random doctor. There could be a lot of doctors at a place, but in this sentence, he saw the doctor. He saw a particular doctor. He's talking about a particular doctor. The definite article is used before singular countable nouns, plural countable nouns, and uncountable nouns. Like the book, book is singular countable nouns. The book means you're talking about a specific book. The milk, milk is an uncountable noun. The books, books is plural countable nouns. Okay, now let's see the uses of an. The choice between a and an is determined by sound. Yes, the pronunciation of the word, the sound depends that we have to use a or an. Before a word beginning with a vowel sound, an is used. So when a word starts with a vowel sound, we use an. For example, an ass, a, an enemy, orange, o, ink. So all these are vowels, vowel sounds. So we have used an. Exceptions of an. Now it's very important that when to use an if the first word is not a vowel. There are few exceptions to the general rule of using an before words that begin with vowels. Some words like are, honest, air begin with a vowel sound as the initial consonant H is not pronounced. So in this we can see that R, though the spelling starts with H, but H is silent. We are pronouncing it R, A. A is a vowel sound. O is a vowel, honest, because H is silent. E. So it is a vowel sound. Okay. So though these words are not beginning with a vowel, but when we are pronouncing it, they are beginning with a vowel sound. That is why we use an in this. An, are, an, honest, and air. Okay. Uses of a. Let's see. Before a word beginning with the consonant sound, a is used. So when words begin with a consonant sound, we use a, like a boy, a reindeer, a chair, table, yard, women. So all this is a, because all these are words which are beginning with a consonant sound. So let's see more uses of a. In the original numeral sense of one. So sometimes we use a to refer one thing, one particular thing. 12 inches make a foot means 12 inches make 1 foot. So a is used a lot of times in place of one. Not a word was said. Not a word means no word, not a single word was said. A word to a wise is sufficient, means a single word, one word to a wise is sufficient. Okay. To make a common noun of a proper noun. So when you are making a common out of a proper noun, a thing which is a proper noun, and you're making a common noun out of it. A Daniel come to judgment. So you are referring a Daniel, which is a proper noun, and you are using it as a common noun. You are stating it as very wise men. So a very wise men come to judgment. So in this sentence, we have used a proper noun as a common noun. Okay. Now, let's see the exceptions of a. When we don't use a. Some words like university, union, European, unicorn, useful begin with a consonant sound, that of U. Why you? So we can see that in sentences like this, university, year. Year means why. Why is the sound which comes. So though these words are beginning with a vowel, they are beginning with U. Still, when we are pronouncing it, the sound is consonant sound. It's YU. That is why we use a, not an, irrespective of their beginning with a vowel letter. University, unicorn, European, unicorn, union, unicorn, useful. Okay. 1 rupee note, a one-eyed man begin with a consonant sound W. So were means W. One, it's a W is a consonant. So even in these sentences, even in these words, one-eyed man, we use a, irrespective of their beginning with a vowel. We use a 1 rupee note. We use a, not an. Okay. The next is articles with acronyms and initialisms. So with short forms and initials. Now let's see what happens there. This holds true with acronyms and initialisms too. And LCD, display. So if you pronounce LCD, L, E sound, E which is a vowel. So though it is beginning with a consonant, still we are putting an. We will write an there, because the sound, when we are pronouncing it's L, E sound, LCD. A UK based company, U, year, YU sound, which is a consonant sound. That is why we have used a. H, A sound. So it's an HR department. A URL, U, YU again. So it's a consonant sound. That is why we have used a. Okay. Now let's see the use of the. When we talk about a particular person or thing or one already referred. So when you're talking about a particular person or a particular thing, so we use the. The book you want is out of print. So the book, in this sentence, we are talking about a particular book. Not some random book, we are talking about a particular book. So the book that you want is out of print. Let's go to the park. So you're not talking about some random park, you're talking about a particular park. So let's go to that park, some specific park. Okay. When singular noun represents a whole class. So when a singular noun represents whole class, for example, the cow is a useful animal. So it's representing the entire class of useful animals. Horse is a noble animal. The rose is sweetest of all flowers. So in the sentences, all these sentences, this singular noun is representing the whole class of something, whole class of flowers, whole class of animals. Okay. Before some proper names. So with the names of oceans and seas like the Ganga, Nile, canal, Suez Canal, desert, Sahara Desert, mountain ranges, Himalayas, like, so in all these things, we use the. In all these proper names, we use the. Before names of certain books. So there are some books, some religious books, Ramayana, Purans, Vedas. So we always use the before them. Before names of things unique in their kind, so things that are unique like the sun, moon, earth. So we use the before a proper noun when it is qualified by an adjective. So we use it before the nouns who are given, an adjective is added to them. Like for example, the great Caesar. We always say the great Caesar. The immortal Shakespeare. So an adjective is being added to these nouns. So we always use the. With superlatives. So we have always seen that with superlative sentences means the third degree, it's positive, comparative, superlative. With the third degree of adjective, we always use the. The darkest cloud has a silver lining. This is the best book of English grammar. So with the darkest is the superlative form. We have used the. This is the best, good, better, best. Best is the superlative form. We have used the. So with superlatives, we use the. Before musical instruments, he can play the flute. So before all the musical instruments, we generally use the. As an adverb in comparison. So the more they get, the more they want. So when we are using them as an adverb of comparison, jitna zyada unhe milega, utna zyada unhe chahiye hoga. So we use the. With ordinals. Ordinals are like he was the first man, first, second, third, fourth, ninth, numbers. He was first man to arrive. So first, with these types of ordinals, we use the. The 9th chapter of the book is very interesting. The 9th chapter. So with ordinals, we use the. Now let's see, when should we not use articles? Omission. Before names of substances and abstract nouns, like sugar is bad for your teeth. We never say the sugar is bad for your teeth. It's not appropriate to say. Sugar is bad for your teeth. Gold is a substance. Gold is a precious metal. Honesty is the best policy. Honesty is an abstract noun. So with substances, name of substances, and with abstract nouns, we preferably don't use the. Before plural countable nouns used in general sense. So in general, when we are making a statement, so with plural countable nouns, we don't use the. Like we'd never say the children like chocolates. We say children like chocolates. Children are plural countable nouns. Computers are used in many offices. So this is a statement which is made in a general sense. So we don't use the. Before proper nouns, except those refer earlier. So there are some names of people, countries, continents, cities, individual, lakes, hills, like Gopal, Rahim, Pakistan. It's not wise to use the. Before names of meals, like what time do you have lunch? Breakfast is ready. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. With names of meals, we don't use the. Before languages, we are studying English. They speak Punjabi at home. So we are talking about languages here. So we don't use the. Before school, college, university, church, bed, hospital, prison, when these places are visited for their primary purpose. So when you go to school to study, college, university. So I learned French at school. So we don't say I learned French at the school. So school is a place where you go for learning. So when you are mentioning these names, when these places are visited for what the purpose they serve, we don't use the. My uncle is still in hospital. We go to church on Sundays. So in these types of sentences, we don't use the. Before names of relations like father, mother, aunt, uncle, and also our cook, our nurse. So with these types of with relations, with something which is in relation to you, we don't use the. Father has returned, cook has given notice. So with these things also, we don't use the. Before nouns denoting a unique position, that is position that is normally held to a particular person at one time. So for special positions which take place for a particular time, we don't use the. He was elected chairman of the board. For example, like chairman, you are elected chairman for a specific time. Mr. Banerjee became principal of college in 1995. So we haven't used the in this. For normally for some unique positions that is normally held to a particular person at one time. Okay, so now let's do some figure of speeches, which is very important. Let me give some, yes. Okay, so let's see. We have done a lot of figure of speeches. Let's do some more. Alliteration. Alliteration is a repetition of the beginning sounds of neighboring words. So when the first sound is similar, the beginning sound is similar of the neighboring words, of the words that are coming one next to each other, that is alliteration. Like she sells seashells. So as we can see that the beginning sounds are similar of the neighboring words, so this is an alliteration. Walter wondered where Winnie was. So we can see the first sound is similar. Blue baby bonnets bobbed through the bayou. Nick needed new notebooks. So we can see in all these sentences, the starting sound is similar. The beginning sound is being repetitive. So that is alliteration. Fred fried frog's legs on Friday. So this is alliteration. What is alliteration? It is a repetition of the beginning sounds of neighboring words. Let's see the next one, which is understatement. An understatement occurs when something is said to make something appear less important or less serious. When you just make something less important, कोई चीज जो कि बड़ी है, but आप उसे बहुत, you're making it very less important, less serious, not at all serious, that is understatement. It's just a scratch, referring to a large dent. So supposedly your car just met an accident, so there you have made a large dent, and you are saying that it's just a scratch. So like this, you're just making an understatement. For a large dent, you are saying that it's just a scratch. It's a little dry and sandy, referring to the driest desert in the world. So the words you are using for the driest desert in the world, it's little dry and sandy. The driest desert in the world is supposed to be a too dry and sandy, and you are saying that it's little dry and sandy. So you're making an understatement. You are making something seem to appear less important or less serious. The weather is cooler today, referring to sub-zero temperatures. So -degree temperature, when it's very cold, it's freezing cold, you're just making a statement, the weather is cooler today. When you're freezing, when there is freezing cold, you're just saying that the weather is cooler today. So you're making an understatement. It was interesting, referring to a bad or difficult experience. So the bad or difficult experience you are having, you are just having in your life, your experience, and you're saying that it was interesting. So you're making an understatement. It stings a bit, referring to a serious wound or injury. So something for which, so you are saying this like it's paining a lot. Something is bothering you a lot, it's paining you a lot, and for some serious wound or injury, you are saying that it's just a sting, it's normal, it's nothing. So that is an understatement. Okay, all right. The next figure of speech is onomatopoeia. The use of words that imitate the sounds associated with the objects or actions they refer to. So when there are sounds in the sentences, sounds associated to the objects, so that is onomatopoeia. For example, the best part about music class is that you bang on the drum. So the banging of the drum, we're talking about a sound. So whenever there is a sound in a sentence, the sentence is said to be onomatopoeia. If you want the red team to win, clap your hands right now. So clapping of the hands. The dishes fell to the floor with a clatter. So the dishes fell, making a clattering sound. So we are referring to a sound which again makes it onomatopoeia. Nothing annoys me more than rapidly clicking your pen. So the noise of clicking of your pen, you're just closing it and opening it again and again. So that noise, we are talking about a sound, that is onomatopoeia. The bride and groom were not surprised to hear the familiar sound of clinking glasses. So the sound of clinking glasses, the sound is there. So that is onomatopoeia. Okay. The next is pun. Pun is very interesting. Pun is a joke that makes a play on words. So basically, when you have to make your writing a little humorous, a little funny, you want to add a joke to it, you just play with words, and that is called pun. Pun makes use of words that have more than one meaning, or words that sound similar but have different meanings. Generally, the sentences which are pun, they have a lot of meanings. They can have one meaning or they can have a lot of meanings. So they just add a humorous effect to the passage. For example, her cat is near the computer to keep an eye on the mouse. So a computer is being operated by a mouse. So we're just making a funny statement. The cat is near the computer so that she can see the mouse. She can keep an eye on the mouse. Now I have a graph paper. I guess it's time to plot something. So in this sentence, plot is being used in other sense. So the sentence is being made that I have a graph paper. So graph paper is something in which you plot. Okay, so I guess, so this plotting and hatching a plan, plotting, planning something, that is different. So it has got a lot of meanings. The road to success is always under construction. So this is a pun. This is just to say that whenever the road to success is very difficult, it's always bumpy. You were right, so I left. You were correct, so I left. So these are sentences which are making it funny. Okay. Now there are some sentences. Let's read it and let's identify that which figure of speech it is. And beauty born of murmuring sound shall pass into her face. So beauty born of murmuring sound. So in this sentence, we can see that sound is being referred to. Okay, so when there is a sound in a sentence, there is a sound that is a murmuring in the sentence. So it is onomatopoeia. Okay. Her mother too upon this occasion felt pleasing distress. So her mother right now is feeling pleasing distress. Pleasing is something which you are liking, and distress is certainly an opposite word. So you are using two opposite words at the same time. So two opposite feelings are used together. How is it possible that the mother can feel pleasure and sorrow both at the same time? It is an oxymoron. So basically, when you're talking about two opposite feelings or two things, how can a person feel happy and sad at the same time? So it's an oxymoron. A boy has been admitted to the hospital. The nurse says he is in good hands. Wait. A boy has been admitted to the hospital. The nurse says he is in good hands. So in this sentence, he is in good hands. So the good hands are being referred to the hospital staff, doctors. So in good hands, we are referring to a complete team. We are referring to a whole class. So what is this? This is a synecdoche. How high His Highness holds his haughty head. We can see that there is a repetition in the beginning sound of the neighboring words. All the words have the same beginning sound. How high His Highness holds his haughty head. So what is this? This is an alliteration. Death in his palace holds his court. His messengers move to and fro. So death in his palace. So in this sentence, we are saying, it is being said that death has a palace. In his palace holds its court his messengers. So death is something who cannot have a palace. So we are giving a human trait. A palace generally a king has. Okay, so we are giving a human trait to just a non-living thing. Okay, so what is this? It is a personification. The car danced across the icy road. So the car danced. How can the car dance? People dance, humans dance. So we are giving a non-living trait, a living quality to a non-living thing. So what it is a personification. Okay. Now we know that vocabulary is so important to crack the CLAT exam, because a lot of times in between the passages we get stuck with difficult words. So let's increase our vocabulary knowledge. The first word is deliberate. This is a very common word. I know that everyone must have heard it. Deliberate is something which you do consciously, done consciously, intentionally. कोई चीज जो आप जानबूझ के करते हो, that is deliberate. Huddle. What is the meaning of huddle? Crowd together, nestle closely. So when you're just sitting together, crowd together, when you're just sitting close by, that is huddle. Astronomical means of an amount extremely large. We are talking about something which is extremely large, lot. We use the word astronomical. Sword of Damocles. Something bad seems very likely to happen to you. Sword of Damocles is when something very bad has happened, is likely to happen to you. कोई बुरी चीज आपके साथ होने वाली है. That is sword of Damocles. Mandarin. A person who has a very important job in the government and who is sometimes considered to be too powerful. So Mandarin is basically a person who holds a very influential position, job in the government, and he is sometimes also considered as a very powerful person. The next word is scourge, to cause great suffering or a lot of trouble. So something which cause बहुत suffering create करता है, which creates a lot of trouble, that is scourge. Next is obscure, not clear and difficult to understand or see. Obscure is something which is not clear, which is not crystal clear. You cannot see. It's very difficult to see and understand. You're not able to understand it. Couch, to express something in a particular way, especially in order not to upset or anger the person addressed. So couch has a lot of meanings. One, a piece of furniture, we know its meaning. It's a very common meaning. The next is when you express something in such a way so that you don't end up hurting others or making other person angry or upset. The next word is stymie, to prevent something from happening or someone from achieving a purpose. So when you don't let something happen, when you are creating an endurance in front of someone and you're not letting them achieve something, that is stymie. Whitewash, to make something bad seem acceptable by hiding the truth. So when you are making something, something is really bad, you are making it acceptable that people may like it, but you are just hiding the truth. You're not telling the complete story. You are just trying to make the thing seem little good. Unrelenting, extremely determined, never becoming weaker or admitting defeat. Unrelenting is, we often talk about unrelenting determination. Means something which is someone who is extremely determined, who cannot become weaker, who will never accept defeat, who has a very strong willpower, extremely determined. That is unrelenting. Onslaught, a violent and forceful attack. So what is onslaught? Means a very forceful and violent attack. We call that onslaught. Loosen the purse strings, to make more money available for spending. Loosen the purse strings is just a phrase in which means that you are spending more money. You are now in a position, now you are making more money available. You are willing to spend more money. Clamor, a loud complaint about something or a demand for something. When you're complaining, when you are very aggressively complaining about something or demanding something, that is clamor. Ailing, unhealthy or weak and not getting any better. Something ailing, we have heard this word a lot of times, something which is not healthy, which is very weak and it's not getting better anyhow. Bleak, bleak means without hope, something which is hopeless, which doesn't have any hope, that is bleak. Grit, courage and determination despite difficulty. So we use the word grit to express courage, determination, no matter how difficult things get in life, but we will never lose courage and determination. Tenor, the character or usual pattern of something. So basically the pattern, क्या usual pattern रहता है किसी चीज का, that is the tenor. Anathema, something that is strongly disliked or disapproved of. So something which is not liked by people, which is completely unacceptable, people don't approve it, that is anathema. Occult, relating to the magical powers and activities such as those of witchcraft and astrology. We have heard a lot of times about occult sciences. So it is related to magical powers, activities. A lot of things are getting popular these days, like numerology and tarot card reading. So these are all part of occult sciences. So magical powers and activities such as those of witchcraft and astrology. That is occult. Okay. So now here are some passages. Now let's see that what type of tone is in this passage. Alonso winked at his mother's shocked gaze, and with a smile he said, "Sausage and pepperoni pizza for breakfast makes perfect sense." So Alonso just winked at her surprised mother, and with a smile he said that sausage and pepperoni pizza for breakfast is the perfect thing he can have. "Allow me to demonstrate," he said to his mother. "Let me show you. You have your tomato. Tomato is technically a fruit." So he is saying that this is a tomato, and tomato is ideally a fruit, not a vegetable. "You have your cheese." Now he's talking about cheese, which is a dairy product. "You have your crust, necessary carbs for quick energy in the morning." So the crust is usually the crust has a lot of carbs, carbohydrates, so which is important for gathering energy in the morning. "And don't forget the sausage and the pepperoni, my protein." And don't forget, with the main substance, the main ingredient of the pizza is sausage and pepperoni, which is the main protein. If you think about it, it is just like bacon and eggs, toast and orange juice. Still smiling, he added, "Really it is. Well, almost. Why are you looking at me that way?" So it's just a child is telling his mother that what is going to have the pizza, how what is he going to have in his breakfast, and he's just showing her that how he's making it. He's just telling in detail, explaining every ingredient of that pizza and everything. So what is the tone of the passage? Funny, humorous, sad, insulting. So funny. Yes, this is very humorous, funny. This is very funny how the child is explaining his mother about the things which he is going to have in the breakfast. So sad, there is nothing sad in this. Insulting, no, there is nothing insulting. There is no insult which is being done to anyone. So this is very funny and humorous. So the tone is funny. "My mother, my annoying brother, likes to drive me crazy. There is no other who is that lazy. He whines to moon and he whines to mom and dad night and day until he eventually gets his way." So in this, the writer has been talking about his brother, who actually the writer can be a girl also. So to her brother, who is very fed up, who is using the words annoying for his brother, who is just fed up of her brother, and there is no other who is that lazy. So she is calling her brother very lazy. He whines to mom and dad night and day until he eventually gets his way. So he is her brother is very stubborn. He just whines to his parents day and night until he get his things done. What is a sister to do when he screams till he's blue? What can a sister do when he's screaming so much? There is no way to win, for he gets under your skin. You cannot win from him. He's so annoying. He does his best to kill all joy. He just kills my joy. Oh, how my brother does annoy. Oh, so my brother is so annoying. What is the tone of the passage? Optimistic, frustrated, insulting. So optimistic is basically a tone in which you're talking about good things. Hopeful. When you're very hopeful about the future, when you think that good things will happen in future. So there is no good things happen in future. This is not the tone of the passage. Frustrated. Yes, he's repeating the words. She's repeating the words annoying, annoy, kills all joy. All these words tell us that we are talking about a frustrated tone. Okay. All right. The next is, now here is a list of few important idioms and phrases for CLAT. So we are talking about some important phrases. First is grease the palm, meaning to bribe. Sentence: Kabir has to grease the palm of the officer in order to get a driving license. Grease the palm when you bribe someone. So Kabir is bribing is bribing someone, is bribing the officer so that he can get his driving license. Nip in the bud. What is nip in the bud? To destroy something in the very beginning. That is nip in the bud. The bad habits of a child should be nipped in the bud. So the bad habits of the child should be stopped, should be destroyed in the very beginning itself. Okay. The next is turn a deaf ear, which means when you're not paying attention. All the students turned a deaf ear to the teacher during a moral science lecture. So during the moral science lecture, all the students did not pay attention to the teacher. Knit the brow means when you're frowning, when you're shouting at someone, employer always knits his brow at everything the employees do. So the employer is always frowning at his employees. In a flutter, when you're very excited, Abhinav is in a flutter today because it is his first day of school. So Abhinav is very excited as it is the first day of his school. Fabian policy means policy of when you delay a decision. It gets harmful for the management to follow Fabian policy in every matter. So it's very harmful for the management as it is always delaying the decisions. Okay, by fits and starts means something which is very irregular. Ram was penalized because he used to perform his job by fits and starts. So Ram was penalized because he used to do his job irregularly. Thank you everybody for your time, for your precious time. We'll meet next Tuesday with more exercises and more comprehension passages. Thank you.